she's one of the unsung heroines of American fashion.
Tracey is a designer who season to season really executes on her vision.
If you know Tracey, it's like the work is an extension of who she is.
If Valentino, the great couturier, one of the greatest designers of our times, had a daughter, it would be Tracey Reese.
My mom always sewed for us and for herself. We were always in the fabric store. She was always buying remnants. There was so much fabric in the basement of our house. I mean, you could open a store. She got me interested in sewing. We used to sit and sew together like until 4 o'clock in the morning. My dad would come down at about 3 o'clock and he'd say, "Are y'all crazy? Go to bed." And we would look up like, you know, just a few more minutes. I just have to do this hem, or I just have to finish this seam, or whatever. But he knew that I was passionate about it. I went to Cass Tech in Detroit. The fashion department at Cass was actually beautifully structured. You had model drawing, you had a design class, and illustration. I think really learning how to draw the body and how clothes drape on the body was super important. I had no idea that, you know, fashion design was such a huge industry. I mean, the whole fashion industry in New York. I had no clue of that until I actually came here for a summer program at Parsons. They had a program for high school students. When I decided to go to Parsons for school, I think both of my parents sort of were like, "Are you sure that's what you want to do? Don't you want to go to, you know, all these exciting, you know, Ivy League colleges?" But at the same time, they knew I was passionate about going to Parsons and becoming a designer, and they were extremely supportive. All of that speaks really well of my dad, because he grew up by the book. You know, you clean on Saturday, you chill out on Sunday, you work hard during the week. And I remember he took us aside at one point and he was like, "If you expect to achieve any kind of greatness, you better be ready to work twice as hard or 3 times harder than anybody else." It was the best education, definitely, that I could get for what I've chosen to do. When I came out of Parsons, I'd done well there and I got a job immediately and everything was cool. They felt, you know, pretty secure with my choice. But a few years into my career, he said to me, "You know, it's time for you to do your own thing. Don't you want to do your own thing?" So I presented this whole plan to my dad and he came up with some money to get me started, and I got a loan from the state of New York, and I was fortunate that my old boss, her husband was a rep, and he agreed to represent my line in his showroom. You know, the really tough part began because I was like in factories and running around with, you know, bolts of cloth on my shoulders and, you know, renting broken down vans so that I could pick up stuff and ship it, and I was doing all the picking and packing myself. You name it, I was doing it. And I remember thinking, you know, okay, I don't think I can do this. I don't think I'm really ready, not emotionally. I didn't have the business experience I needed. When I was just too young, I was like 23, 24 years old. So I decided to close and take a job. And that's when I went to Perry Ellis.
I know it must be very humbling to she got her own place.
It's tough to get your name on the label. Most people aren't anxious to put your name on their label. I think for a lot of designers, it's what you hope for because you're hoping also that it means there's more of your voice in that product. But ultimately, you don't have that freedom until you have your own label, your own company. And along with that freedom comes a huge responsibility. This product is the customer's product. I'm designing for a customer. I'm not just, you know, making something on a whim or just because I think it's a cute idea. It has to be a useful product.
I think that the stereotype is people go into this because it's a very glamorous profession. You think that there's all these celebrities, you're gonna make all this money. When you actually see them at work, it's a very tedious job.
Being a designer is not 98% glamour. No, it's 2% glamour. And the rest is really about business. Really key to Tracey's success is that she has balanced well herself as an artist, as a designer, but also the importance of branding and marketing and running a business.
I would suggest to any young new designer who's trying to break in and they're saying, oh, you know, it's really hard for Black people to get into business. Well, this business is really hard for everyone.
Do everything the best you can possibly do. And people remember that. And they're happy to recommend you to other people. You can build strong relationships and lasting relationships. And I think people begin to understand what you stand for, and if they respect you, then they'll stay in your corner.
Look at the way that designers like Tracey Reese and Marc Jacobs, who both used to work together, how they worked in business for years and years and worked for many other people before they actually started their own business. This is not someone who just came up with a good idea and then, put it on a sketch pad and somebody turned it out.
I think that it's important to start with that attitude that you can achieve your goal. Because if you don't believe in yourself, who will? When I decided to go into business again the second time, I was more mature, and that was a tough decision too, because having a business really takes all of your time. It's like having a child. I realized that I really needed to make my own decisions about the collection and about the kind of clothing that I wanted to do. And it's hard to do that when you work for someone else. And so I decided to go at it again, and my dad was right there behind me.
And follow your dream.
I remember so well Tracey saying to me that her mother was a homemaker, but the mother always made Tracey and her sister clothes, and they were similar, but they always had the freedom of choice to just make one detail special for themselves.
I have two sisters. One is older, one is younger. My younger sister, Erin, she's a lot like my mom, and she'll embarrass me in public. We'll walk into a store or whatever, and she'll say, oh, Trey, that's your outfit on the mannequin. I'm gonna go tell this, I'm gonna tell this lady that it's you, and it's like, stop it, stay right here and don't say a word. And my older sister, Leslie is a writer, and she's always been in the public eye, especially in Detroit, and now she's in Chicago. I think my success is her success. She feels it for me, and They're all proud, but I'm equally proud of each of them. I think each of us has achieved a lot of our dreams, and that's an awesome thing to be able to say. And obviously we wouldn't have done that without the type of parents that we had. We would go to the Y on the weekends. You know, you could pick those 3 classes, so it'd be like swimming, knitting, and art. You know, and whatever we liked, she would find a way for us to do more of that. And my dad would kind of look at her like, why do they need all these lessons? What are they going to do with this? And I remember at one point, he said to Aaron, you know, are you going to become a concert pianist? Because otherwise, I don't know why I'm paying for these lessons, you know, like 8 years into it. We all, you know, were able to express ourselves creatively, and I think that made us more well-rounded individuals, and my mom knew that. Both of them, you know, have supported us in different ways. I think my mom, like, culturally and emotionally, and my dad financially, and just with that, you know, that strong principle, that work ethic, is instilled very, very deeply in each of us. I've got a lot of idols. I mean, one of them is definitely Andre Leontali. I mean, and this is someone who, when he walks into the room, you're like, oh my God, it's the man himself. He's such a real person. If he takes you under his wing, he loves you like his own child.
I'm one of her biggest champions because it is very difficult for any person of the African American heritage to get noticed in the world today.
You need people to believe in you and believe that, you know, you're always striving, and I am, you know, to do your best work.
Her individualism and her approach to fashion is very similar to what Marc Jacobs does.
I learned a lot from Marc, even in that little time that we worked together, but we actually went to school together. And with him, you know, he was always able to embrace what he needed. Even something that he didn't think he could do or whatever, he would find a way to sort of overcome that and just make it his favorite thing, you know, and that's a talent. My first design boss was Martine Sitbon. She opened my eyes to, you know, so many periods that I knew they existed, but I just didn't realize how deep they were.
Tracey knows how to pick from the past, interpret it, and adapt it for everyday modern times.
Oprah is the big moment. That's one of the biggest moments in life if you appear on the Oprah Winfrey Show. It was just larger than life. We did that interview and everything went really smoothly, and then, you know, when they went to break, she said, I'm so proud of you, and I was like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, Oprah's proud of me. I'll be happy till death.
You know, we're sitting in her boutique. There are very few African American designers who have ever had a boutique of their own since the days of Stephen Burrows and the O Boutique. How many black designers do you know that have boutiques this large in a place in New York where fashion is the hub of fashion in downtown fashion?
I remember coming when this store opened. This was her first flagship store, and we all came down here to the party. And how it was so exciting because it was just everything had come full circle. This is the world of Tracey Reese. This is the way that she sees it. It's got her signature chandelier. It's got her fuchsia pink tissue paper, which is, you know, her backdrop that she uses for her fashion shows.
When you walk into Tracey's store, it strips away the fact that she's an African-American designer. At the end of the day, it's all about the clothes.
Tracey's also interested in a lot of world cultures. I see the evidence of the traditional weaving and fabric traditions of Asia, India, Africa, South America in her work as well.
And those visions give her great, vivid energy to create joy. And I think that any great fashion designer gives a woman joy. A woman wants to feel great in her clothes, she wants to look great, and you can in Tracey Reese.
Designers who really succeed in fashion have a signature look. Tracey developed a great signature with color, with embellishment at the perfect time when we were in a very colorful fashion cycle. So it made people look up.
I think that in the fashion industry, sometimes a level of accessibility is not celebrated. It's almost inaccessibility sometimes that's celebrated. the thing you can't get or you can't fit into.
The whole process of design is sort of hilarious when you think that you're starting with this, this kind of cookie cutter, and literally we fit on size 2s at the very beginning because that's the size of most runway models. But a real American woman, the average size is actually 14 and we don't even go that high. For me, it's so exciting when something looks good on the size 2 and on the size 12. Then I know I've done my job.
She really works with a very distinct silhouette.
Women love these clothes because they fit. They're not gonna have to be like all in, a Spanx or control top girdle and everything to try to like squeeze into something.
I think it's exciting that we come in all shapes and sizes, and it's important for each woman to sort of look at herself and figure out what her best assets are and play those up.
She wants people to look at you when you walk in, because you're gonna be looking different from the other women.
Luckily, I have a customer who's very open to a lot of ideas. I'm always amazed at some of the stuff that gets embraced, because it'll be the piece that you think, well, maybe that's pushing a little bit, maybe that's a little too forward. It'll be a bestseller because the customer is competitive. She's very aware also of what's going on in fashion.
What she does is so similar to what Valentino does, giving a woman offerings of choices from a brocade coat that you could wear as a trench coat or a cocktail coat to a perfectly fitted suit.
You can take one of her jeweled tops and you can wear it with your own little skinny pants or jeans and give it your own look. It allows women to use a lot of their imagination, and fashionistas are women who are original dressers who, take chances, take risks, and, like to look different and like to get attention.
And now that Tracey has handbags and shoes, they also address the demands for a woman's wardrobe that not only goes to work. She may have to drop the children off at school, she may have a board meeting, she may have a charity meeting, so your wardrobe has to be flexible enough to go from 8 in the morning to 8 in the evening.
Being able to mix casual with more formal.
I now know I can go in a store, I'll be in a shop, I'll see a woman and I'll say, that looks like that might be a Tracey Reese dress.
It's not a fad. You look at her clothes and you can tell that it's her. It's clothes that she would wear, it's clothes that her mother would wear. Every piece is essentially the essence of Tracey.
You can really sense that a designer has touched these clothes.
I find that our customer is open to so much that I'm super grateful. As a designer, it makes it a pleasure.
Going to Tracey's show is always fun because usually it's on a Sunday, so it's sort of the beginning or the kickoff of Fashion Week. There's always some kind of fantastic chandelier or lighting. The staging is always very beautiful. There is an amazing group of people, family, friends, and a lot of celebrities. Tracey really knows how to bring in the celebrities.
Well, I always look forward to a show, and then she opened the show with the most extraordinary tango couple, and I felt so good about it because tango dancers do not have to be perfect, and that man had a little bit of a gut, and the woman was not asparagus thin, and they were so elegant.
We had a picture of tango dancers that I just kept referring to when I was sketching the collection. It was great to open the show that way and sort of bring people into, my head, I guess, or what I was thinking at the time when I sketched the clothes.
You go to Tracey and there's a story already built in the clothes. You don't even need to read the liner notes. You see the clothes and you can tell the amount of work that has gone into it, the amount of thought that has gone into it.
For spring 2007, the whole inspiration for the collection was South America and Argentina. And I was just really inspired by the colors and the textures.
Tracey is not about just the drama of the show. Behind the excitement of the show are always very wonderful clothes. Her fashion focus is brilliant.
I hope for Tracey in the future that she will design, our whole world. I mean, she does clothes now. She's moved to shoes and bags, which is fantastic. She's moved to housewares. I hope to see her business develop in a way where she is really designing everything.
That's a dream, to be able to kind of put out that total look, because a lot of times I'm thinking, well, I'd love to have sheets out of this, or I'd love to have table dressing out of this, or a set of drapes out of that print.
I think she can design plates She should be designing dishes. She could design dishwashers.
We're getting into fragrance. That's the next thing.
Tracey has a lot of things at her fingertips because I think offering beautiful, fashionable clothes at the price that she does is the wave of the future, really. I think that is what people are looking for.
You know that these clothes are going to have a life long beyond. It's the sort of things that grandmothers pass on to their grandchildren. No one really has a bad thing to say about Tracey, which again, in this catty world of fashion, is quite rare.
Well, I think Tracey is extraordinarily passionate. She knows her craft from the inside out, and she's worked extraordinarily hard at it.
As a designer in this business, particularly as a designer of color in this business, I think our challenges are still there. She has really stood the test of time and consistently does great work.
Tracey is strong, quiet, extremely generous,